ourselves the elite.
Better than you, and you know it.
If not us, who? And if not now, when?
We don't care about race or gender or sex or religion. If you're an elite athlete, we want you.
Change the world. We are going to change the whole universe!
This is what you call a paradigm shift.
He saw what wrestling was and realized what it could be.
All Elite Wrestling!
For the 23rd time, it's Monday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for the next chapter of the only professional wrestling podcast that is changing the world every week. This is Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. I am your host, Bryce Reed. I'm joined by my friend, my co-host, my tag team partner, Mr. Jonathan Davis.
How's it going, dude?
We are less than 1 week away from All Out. Mere days remain between us and Chicago, the final stop in the road before AEW heads to TNT on October 2nd. And we have an eventful week of AEW news to get to. But first, a correction and an apology to fans of Seeing the Elite and AEW podcast. As many of you were quick to point out to us on Discord and Twitter this week, I made a mistake last week when reporting on the StarCast 3 schedule. In error, I stated that the entry for the Payoff Pod, which appeared with no description, was in reference to the Personal Finance Advice podcast and not the wrestling podcast of the same name. And I want to explain this. It said the Payoff Pod on the schedule, went to Google, typed in the Payoff Podcast, first thing that popped up, Financial Advice Podcast. I went, oh, done, mission accomplished, Conrad's an idiot, USA, you know, just ready to write it off, and it never crossed my mind that two podcasts could have the same name.
I mean, it's no excuse from us, but in our defense, the StarCast lineup has literally zero descriptions for anything involved. So it was a mistake, and yeah, we should have done a little bit more due diligence, but in our defense.
Sure, I'm not here to make excuses or try to come up with a defense. I'm only here to tell people how it happened. I have no excuse for it outside of simply not researching enough. And yeah. It's my responsibility on the show and Jonathan's responsibility on the show to make sure that the information that we give is well-researched or at the very least true. JD and I take pride in that always being the case. It doesn't mean that we're never going to make mistakes, obviously, or misunderstand something, but when we do, we're going to try and be transparent about it. To those that reached out, thank you for keeping us honest, and we hope that you'll continue to do so in the future. The Payoff is a wrestling podcast where they watch a classic match and talk about the circumstances that surround it with somebody who is intimately involved. It's a great show. Go check it out, thepayoffpod.com. That's www.thepayoffpod.com. Once again, a deep, heartfelt apology to The Payoff, fans of that show, fans of this show, for not being served the way we would like. We'll do our best to ensure that this sort of thing is kept to a minimum in the future.
We also appreciate that no one just went, full aggro on us and just like, hey, you guys are fucking idiots.
Some of them were kind of aggravated, but I get it.
But not, not as malicious as you and I are to each other.
Right. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Jonathan and I are two friends, fans, lovers of professional wrestling who are here every single Monday morning with all the latest news from All Elite Wrestling. This is not a sports entertainment show. It's an entertaining sports show supported by fans like you from all over the world on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite. Some fun action on Twitter this week, as I was saying. But if you really want to be part of the crew, get in with a true faction of AEW fans from all over the world. Talk about the podcast, talk about AEW, talk about anything you want over there with a great group of friends. Join our Discord server. tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite will get you the invite. That's tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. Pro Wrestling Scorecards for All Out will go up in Discord this Wednesday at 2 p.m., provided they are not late, which they usually are. Be there.
It can happen because I'm sure, I personally, I don't think they're going to go online until 9 p.m. Well, we do Road to All Out at 8.
Yeah.
I feel like something will get announced.
Probably.
So
I don't think we have another match, but I think there's going to be some revelations there. So
yeah. On the other side of that, if anyone will be in Chicago, just go pick your card. And if you're going to StarCast, that's the other thing. Go pick your card up from the Pro Wrestling Scorecards guys. Mm-hmm. They said they are going to be changing some of their plans, but as of right now, as we record, they'll be at the Lapel booth, and if you make it over there, like the first 150 people, they're doing a beta test, so you get some cool bonus stuff.
Interesting that they don't have their own booth this time. They did last time. So.
Yeah, but you and I know.
But hey,
probably
save
why
that money,
is.
right?
Yeah. They also posted on their website they'll be at all of the events for AEW weekend. They'll have shirts on so you can find them and go talk to them. They have merch.
Chicago, man, coming right up. But so we'll see them probably sometime on Wednesday, hopefully. When they're ready, they'll go live in the Discord so you guys can fill them out, turn them in. Watch the show, beat the champ, and win a free t-shirt from our current server champ, Shane O'Mac 84. Thanks purely to his infinite generosity. We will not be able to read results until the week after All Out, but they will go live in Discord before then. Just due to the realities of our recording. Anthony, who usually keeps track of the scores, is also busy this weekend with his podcast at Dragon Con. And there's no way we're going to be able to get him in, unfortunately, until the next week. So
it's just not going to work out. I mean, just him being able to step away for 10 minutes and have a quiet place to call us. No,
he's literally doing a panel as we're watching All Out, right? So there's no way. Unfortunately, because I'd love to call him in because it's always fun to call him in, but
we wouldn't be able to hear him.
Yeah, we won't until next week.
I've been to Dragon Con enough to know, even say we'll be back recording that about 1 a.m.
Yeah, maybe
he won't be able to still find a quiet place to make the phone call unless he goes back to
unless he's back at the Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
which Anthony, knowing Anthony, he might be. He's a bit of a night owl, but he's also not exactly a social butterfly. But he's also down there, working and networking. So I don't know where he's going to be. Anyway, JD on the time codes if you're looking for something specific, as always. But we got to start with a series of quotes this week. Probably the big news story, and I put it at the top because I think putting any other series of quotes here would be kind of ridiculous. We got to talk about again, an eventful week here, starting with these quotes. Quote, I'm absolutely gutted to have to deliver this news, but I'd rather it come directly from me. In a nightmare Sumerian,
Samario.
In a nightmare Sumerian. In a nightmare scenario, a serious case of MRSA has returned in my elbow. The timing couldn't be worse. In this circumstance, I am forced to pull out of the fight 831 versus Omega at All Out. I apologize to all involved, most importantly the fans. I am incredibly frustrated and pissed off. I'll have surgery this week to remove the bursa sac in my elbow and be done with it for good. Should be a quick recovery, so I will be 100% for AEW Wednesday nights on TNT. Still, I expect All Out to be an amazing pay-per-view, and I hope all the fans out there looking for an alternative tune in. You will be blown away by AEW and be excited to be a wrestling fan. I'm looking forward to watching as a fan myself. Some space happened here, and then the fourth tweet went out that simply said, "This fucking sucks." This is, of course, all from John Moxley, who has, against his will due to health issues, have to pull out of the fight with Omega, which is deeply unfortunate for everyone involved. Would have been such an amazing match to see, a potential show stealer between these two. But the right call for a number of reasons. First of all, just because health should always be the top priority, but also because MRSA, very, very contagious.
It's massively contagious, and this would just put everyone that steps foot in the ring with him and in the ring after him in danger of a very, very contagious and very dangerous disease. So it really sucks, but it's for the best. I'm betting they probably rescheduled this match for the last pay-per-view of the year. Because they both wanted to do this. It was going to be great, but it sucks. It really sucks, but you got to take care of yourself, and, smart on AEW for understanding this, realizing this, and just like, no, we're not doing it. We're not going to do even a, smoke and mirrors match to keep the match on. We're just canceling it. That's very refreshing to see, because other companies don't do that.
Well, yeah, and he's got to have a lot of emotions wrapped up in this. But of course, his first battle with MRSA came after, I believe, a European tour, and he was sent home. And according to him, it almost killed him when he was in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, even anybody getting MRSA, it's very dangerous. I mean, it's a blood infection. It's very hard to get rid of, and it's hard to treat, and it just takes a little bit, and it can put you in ICU for a month.
So he was off the road for a long time, and it was while he was off the road with that infection that they shot a documentary about him that they ended up releasing on the WWE Network, where this was before he had announced that he was leaving, rather kind of just before he announced that he was leaving. And a lot of the footage that they got while he was recovering from MRSA was, it's kind of a shocking documentary to watch that they put it on their thing, because the whole time he's talking about, like, I'm not going to do this much longer. And
yeah, he was very upset and very disgruntled by everything. And I was like, you guys are really going to put this out here? Because he's pretty much throwing you guys under the bus.
Right, about the same stuff that he talked about basically during the Jericho interview, where he was like, he felt like he had a very different idea of what his character was than Vince did, and that he was never going to have the opportunity to play the character the way he wanted to play it in WWE, which is the case for everybody. You always have to play it the way Vince wants to play it. It's his toy box, right? So him now having this second dose of it right when he's about to get going in AEW,
Conspiracy theory.
must almost feel like, well, sure,
Conspiracy
but it must almost feel like a lasso from the past. You know what I mean?
100% does. It's I'm sure there are some conspiracy theory nuts who are out there like, oh man, when he did a match, Vince injected him with it. It happened. I know it. No, it just really sucks, man. There's no two ways about it. This really fucking sucks that he's not going to be able to do this match. Like
Sucks
I said,
for me. I was excited to see that match. I wanted to see that match.
Yeah, same, but you know.
But the silver lining, or rather the Band-Aid to all of this, is the match that they announced just moments after this came out. This sort of tweet from Omega. There was sort of a pause where everyone said, hold on a minute. And they announced the new match, which is going to take place in its stead, which is the return of the bastard. Pac is now slated to fight Omega at All Out.
What's very interesting is we posted it in our Discord. Kenny posted a video on Twitter because they were in the midst of recording shit as they found out the news, and they just kind of posted a live. They just didn't stop recording. They just went with it.
Yeah, according to kayfabe.
According to kayfabe, but whatever.
He was in the middle of recording something for Road to All Out, and they got the message. But if you watch,
his reaction was too genuine to have faked that.
I don't know. I watched that reaction, and to each his own. We can see different things in the same footage. But I watched that reaction, and I felt like there's no way that was the real reaction to it.
Probably not, because he just didn't say fuck immediately.
Right.
But, anybody who's listening to this as it comes out, wait 2 hours and go watch Being the Elite to learn more.
Yeah, Kenny's also got kind of a strange personality in general, too, so it's kind of very difficult to read his reactions to things.
He's kind of a sociopath.
He's got, it's this very... very subdued, soft-spoken, controlled kind of personality. And it's very difficult. I guess I wouldn't know what a genuine reaction looks like from Omega.
You wouldn't, man, because he's got that weird kind of always happy but really neutral face.
Yeah.
And so it's strange.
Rumors also circulated this week that Phoenix may have injured himself at an indie event with a broken leg, but these were quickly proven to be untrue. He appears to be fine and wrestled last night. So
yeah, I think he just took a really bad bump. And
it wasn't that, though. Like, people who were at the show said that he was working a guy in the corner and then all of a sudden fell down and clutched his leg. And then had to be helped to the back, basically.
He fucking had a Charlie horse.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe he's just not drinking enough water.
I mean, as much as him and Pentagon travel, no, they probably aren't drinking enough water.
Probably not.
Because, I mean, what a lot of people don't realize, flying dehydrates you.
Yeah.
So, before we get into the next thing, I have another quote from the Hangman.
Okay.
Say it's from the HOG show, but Bleacher Report Live tweeted this. Hangman says, "I will ride a fucking horse out of the Sears Center as the first AEW World Champion." Bleacher Report Live says, "Do it, Adam Page. Do it."
He won't, because he can't.
Fucking awesome.
But if it did happen, it would be great. He can't ride a real horse, but there's nothing that says there can't be some sort of robot horse. You know what I mean?
Hey man, I know those MIT kids. They have robot horses. I've seen them.
Being the Elite number 166, Country Roads. Missed opportunity here to not put the H in there, but whatever.
They didn't want to get too meta.
I would just want Cody Rhodes to have an alter ego named Country Roads, where he thinks he's a country singer, especially considering he's like not good.
Give it a few months.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Oh man, if he did like the Elias thing, but I actually just sucked.
Yeah, the creative just crashes and burns to that degree that Cody Rhodes needs to do another fucking comedy gimmick. This episode opens with Nick Jackson slow-mo crawling down his walkway in a heavily overexposed shot set to epic orchestral music. He reaches the end of the walkway and slowly, dramatically climbs a ladder, pausing to soak in energy from an imaginary crowd, doing all the stupid shit that wrestlers do in ladder matches, you know. At long last, Nick reaches the top of the ladder as Matt comes into frame. He asks Nick,
"What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, he says, "What the hell are you doing?" He says, "What do you think I'm doing? I'm cleaning my gutters." Nick drops a handful of leaves onto his brother's head as we bump out to the title sequence.
It was so funny that they admit, you know, in, you know, total shade, but like, yeah, this is dumb.
But it feels right in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's about the storytelling more
But
than...
even they admit, like, yeah, we get it. It's dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're clearly getting used to using this new camera, right? Because the exposure was set like super high for the day that it was outside. It was like this super sunny California day, and it made most of this that sequence pretty difficult to look at.
It washed out a lot.
Yeah,
but you know,
small problem. Out of the sequence is another quick segment in the Bucks home gym where Matt is once again shocked by AEW's success, this time as being notified from last week's double sellout. Now we move up to, quote, somewhere in Canada, where SCU does a Worst Town promo on Canada in general, mostly because they're in some sort of rural area that they chose not to pronounce.
They're in Ontario, outside of Toronto,
right,
in Mississauga. But yeah, it's not. It's kind of country town, but it's not like Calgary country town.
Right,
but
right.
Yeah, I get it.
Kazarian says that just because Canada has Tim Hortons and Tim Hortons has the best coffee in the world, that doesn't mean Canada gets a pass. It may be. I wouldn't know.
You live in fucking Maine. You've never been to Tim Hortons?
Dude, I don't drink coffee.
Oh, okay, that's fair. So I gotta find somebody else to go get some coffee with me in the mornings next week.
Dude, I'm sure.
I know.
Sean would. Sean or Shane or
that's
whoever.
not coffee. That's cold.
So they move on. Oh, Canada. More like, oh, get the fuck out of here. This place is the shits. Christopher Daniels can't even think of anything to say and instead just gets back in the car.
It's funny, though, they're complaining about Canada, but it's not winter. So
yeah, it looked like a nice day out.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it probably felt great outside. I mean, mid-70s.
I really don't know how effective... Because we've been watching this show for a while, and doing the worst town bits on BTE, for me, have very little effect whatsoever. Like, even when they're funny. Which I didn't think this one was like particularly funny, but when they are particularly funny, it's like, okay, now you're making fun of a town that I don't live in, and in most cases really, have never been to, right?
It's really only entertaining when they're in the ring doing it.
Yeah.
The BTE is like, okay, cool.
Yeah, okay, guys. Especially because they're so similar. Like, the fact that they're so similar works when they're in the arena because people can chant along with it, right? When I'm watching it at home on a YouTube video...
I'm not going to talk to myself.
Right. And, again, like, it's them talking shit about a town that I have no relationship to. It just seems kind of weird. And they continue to do it on the show, and I think all it does is just make it seem repetitive when it happens in the ring.
Yeah, which
and
is fine.
I guess you can argue that it because of them doing it on BTE, that's what has helped it spread as well as it has to all the arenas, and I can see that, but I think they should do it less.
And they are doing it a lot less.
Yeah.
You can tell that they're all of BTE is in very much a transition state. Mm-hmm. So,
More on that later. Now we're in a dressing room with Brandon Cutler, who is toweling down post-match when Sammy Guevara enters.
This whole thing started off so weird. And I was like, what the fuck? What? And then the callback a few minutes later, I was like, okay, it makes more sense now.
Sammy G is excited. Cutler wants to know his angle. He says, let me guess, you heard it, but didn't see it. Sammy says that he saw the match, and he had no idea that Cutler could do all that stuff. And, quote, no wonder why they call you Cutler. You're freaking cut up, bro. Good fucking match, end quote. Cutler shakes Sammy's hand, waiting for him to say something else, but he doesn't. So Cutler exits, and that's all for now. We then head back to the Bucks home gym. The editing on this episode kind of weird back and forthness of it. Mostly, I think, to benefit the Sammy G thing. They needed to break that up in order for it to work right. So that's why it's kind of weird that we're in the gym with Matt, and then we cut to Canada, and now we're back literally just moments later.
The editing, and especially for this spot, didn't make a lot of sense because of just how they did the first thing, and they're like talking about how, oh yeah, man, we sold out again, but then they come back and then they're again talking about the same thing.
Right? Yeah.
It felt like they recorded the segment twice to do different types of reactions, or even the first one was like literal, like he's checking his phone because he got texted and found out. And
yeah, that's what it seemed like to me, that the first one was the genuine first reaction and the second one was like the thank you note, right?
Yeah, but it was like, why didn't you guys just do it the first time?
Yeah, it was weird.
Because they went over the same stuff. And it was like it felt like they recorded it twice, and then they were like, okay, well, which one should we throw in? Well, we need time to do both.
Yeah. We go back to the Bucks home gym. Once again, they address the double sellout and then hype Escalera de la Muerte at All Out. Nick says that this is the most he's ever studied at Lucha Libre heading into a match. Now we head back to Canada, where Brandon Cutler is in his hotel room, sitting on his bed. He's on the phone with his wife. He talks about his weird interaction with Sammy G earlier in the day, how he waited for the mean thing to be said, but Sammy just appeared genuinely nice in the moment. There's a knock at the hotel room door. Cutler goes to answer. No one is there. Cutler closes the door. Here's a knock at the door again. It's one of those rooms that has a door to another room for families.
A conjoined room.
Right. Cutler...
It's for families. It's also for, like field trips and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. In case, you want to put them all in one room, I guess.
Yeah.
Sammy makes himself at home, jumping all over Cutler's bed and whatnot, before suggesting that both of them go work out together since they have a few days off. Cutler agrees, since he doesn't really have much else going on at the time. Through working out and whatnot over the 2 days, Sammy G and Cutler become friends, giving each other gifts, doing flips into a pool, skipping with each other in the park, friend stuff that friends do. Now we head backstage at a show where Orange Cassidy and Peter Avalon are just chilling out next to a pile of boxes, man. Just racked out, waiting, hurry up and wait. That's the business. Cassidy in particular is stretched out on the floor with his head leaned against a box and his sunglasses on. In comes referee Rick Knox, who takes Cassidy's hand out of his pocket, lifts it in the air, and drops it dramatically on the floor. Once, twice, and a third time. Knox signals for the bell. We cut to a clip of ring crew head Sean Carr ringing the bell and looking confused, which is apparently something they've just had in the bank for a while because he has a CEO laminate on when he's doing this. Cut to back to Rick Knox, who calls the match out and exits. Peter Avalon, confused, reaches down and lifts Cassidy's sunglasses, and Cassidy is dead staring directly into the lens.
Yeah, you think he's just a goddamn corpse.
He might be dead at any time. Yeah, Weekend at Bernie's gimmick confirmed. BT mailbag.
That's why he moves so slow, man. Now we know.
Yeah, he's technically dead. He's like he's the Undertaker of AEW.
Except better.
Nick is first. A fan asks if AEW will ever have a video game. Nick says, "Yup."
And that's it. That was. Like, I get it. I mean, it's a good question, but it also just felt like, yeah, no fucking shit. They're all nerds.
Yeah,
of course, there's going to be a video game.
But then also, it's like it's a decent question, but you're not asking for enough information, I guess is what Nick is trying to say here. Will they ever have a video game? He's like,
yeah,
probably. I don't know, fucking probably, man. You know what I mean? Like, but if
you'd asked them, like, are you gonna have a video game on the PS4 or the PS5?
Right. Do you think you'll have a video game out in the next 3 years? Right.
Yeah.
Or something like that, then that's a question that probably wouldn't get answered because you're asking for too much information, right? But but it's at the very least like Nick. I feel like the intention here from Nick is to point out like you're not asking the right questions at all.
And as long as we're going to be doing BTE mailbag, that's going to be the case.
Sure. And they choose the questions too, so it's a little. You can be like, you're not asking the right questions, but it's like, but that's the question you chose to answer. You could have answered other ones, right? So it's a little bit of an interesting back and forth. Next, a fan asks Matt which match he thinks will steal the show at All Out. Matt says, besides his own match, which will, quote, be the craziest damn ladder match you've ever seen in the history of professional wrestling, Matt thinks Hangman and Jericho's match will be a show stealer.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about Escalera de la Muerte later. They're making a lot of promises, man, and I hope they live up to them.
Hey man, we're getting so close, and AAA hasn't fucked us yet. So
sure, and that's the match for me of this show that I'm excited about. What's interesting is like the Double or Nothing match was really good. The matches they've had since then have been really good. I think this is their chance to have an incredible match, and I really hope they have plans in store to make that happen.
And I think they do. I believe that they do.
Because this match could be really, really good, and that's not enough.
No, this has to be... I hate to take Meltzer things with this. This has to be the 5, 6, or 6-star match. It really does. Sure.
And not even necessarily in his opinion, because... Again, when we talk about the star ratings with Meltzer, it's one fucking guy's opinion, right? So it's subject to his tastes more than anything.
Right. And like what I mean is like this like has to unanimously be in everyone's opinion like, whoa, that was amazing.
There has to be some shit that goes down in this match that is immediately top shelf on Squared Circle GIF material that people are like, you gotta see this fucking match, dude. You didn't know. And if it doesn't have at least one of those, then it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. I mean, that's There's no two ways. There's no other way to look at it. But it's like it has to be this top level match.
Yeah. Now to the airport where Daniels and Cutler are saying farewell to Canada when Cutler thinks he might have left his passport back at the hotel. In a panic, he calls his new best friend Sammy G, who is still at the hotel, and asks if he's seen his passport. Cutler says he hasn't seen Cutler's passport, but he's heard it as he drops Cutler's passport into a wastebasket.
So... here's my gripe with this, and it's fine because it's BTE.
Sure.
They filmed this after they got through security.
You're right. I didn't realize that. Yeah. They're at an airport restaurant.
Okay.
Oh, man. That's hilarious. So Cutler says, what do you mean you've heard it? That doesn't even make sense. Sammy says, whatever, nerd, and tosses his phone behind him, laughing himself from the chair that he's in onto the floor. And I thought, yeah, wow, I thought that segment was great, and now I think it's great, but kind of funny that they did it that way.
It makes it funnier.
It does make it funnier, but the joke is that they're not very thoughtful about how they execute certain things.
Yeah.
Now we cut back to Mexico for what might be the actual full-length version of this clip. Finally, after like 3 weeks. We go back through them revealing Boston and Philly, and then at the end, Kenny reveals that TV number 4 will take place in Pittsburgh. Britt Baker cuts in to talk about her history with Pittsburgh. Baker is from Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh is where she went to her first match, had her first match in a wrestling ring, and went to wrestling school. The University of Pittsburgh, which houses Peterson Event Center, which will host this episode of television, is the institution from which Britt Baker earned her doctorate in dental medicine. She cannot believe that they are running TV in a building she spent hours studying in years ago, which is cool to see them have like a hometown hero in this stadium, or arena, really, college arena. It does make me think that she is pretty likely to take home the title.
I don't know
when it happens, but especially with how they've been pushing her up until this as well.
If she's not, she will be challenging for the title at this TV taping.
Yeah.
Which, going off of that, where it was on Twitter, TV number 5 for November 6th is on BTE today.
Oh, nice.
So it seems like we're gonna that's how we're gonna get the
more and more of them as we go on.
Yeah.
Good. Now Cody comes out in front of a green screen to announce the location of the TV that will come after that. As he readies to announce, a fat guy duded up in Steelers merch and tattoos hands Cody an acoustic guitar. Cody then proceeds to sing karaoke while pretending to play guitar in what may be the single worst rendition.
He wasn't even fucking pretending, man.
Of Country Roads I've ever heard.
He was just sitting there with his and just not moving his hands at all.
And he was smiling and acting into the camera fine, but he was
having fun, but
it was
so
off key and out of time, and he wasn't playing the guitar. Really not terribly committed to the bit. Although maybe he's just like really untrained as a singer, which
I think it was I'm gonna be silly about this. Not I don't care about this bit. It was full on like, let's go dumb. Because it's BTE.
He does end the song with "Take Me Home, Cody Rhodes," which I think is great. And then we see the image for this episode of television, which will go up at the Charleston Coliseum in Charleston, West Virginia, on Wednesday, October 30th. This will be the show the night before Halloween. Will be in West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia. It's
closer.
It's interesting. I'm gonna read this next article, and then we're gonna kind of talk about these two choices: Pittsburgh and Charleston, West Virginia. AEW on TNT ticket sales slow down amid WWE NXT to USA announcement. I want to say this article tries to tie the reason for the slowing down to the NXT USA announcement. I really don't think that's the case. I think it's a number of other factors.
It was super clickbaity.
Yeah. And as always, not to demonize the media or whatever, but the wrestling media always, if they can have an AEW article, great. But if they can have an AEW and WWE article, that's what they're looking for. You know what I mean?
Some guy's head just exploded.
Right. So even when it's not purely related to to NXT. Like, sure, you can say that there's a correlation between these two purely because of the time, but I don't think that correlation is causation here necessarily.
I don't even think that there's really any correlation to the statements being made.
Yeah, so AEW on TNT ticket sales slow down amid WWE NXT to USA announcement. This comes from Alfred Kahuna at Forbes.com.
It's also Forbes, which is just so much clickbait.
Sure. Usually they the stuff that they get from Alfred, Alfred, frequently we read his stuff on this show, is good, but there's just a little bit too much of trying to tie this to something that I don't think is entirely related here. I think there are other reasons why these tickets slowed down, is what I'm saying, and we're going to get to that. All Elite Wrestling's seemingly unstoppable success was met with a rare case of somewhat discouraging news, as its last round of ticket sales for upcoming TNT television tapings in Pittsburgh and West Virginia failed to immediately sell out. Editors note, this is us eating a little bit of crow, because I did say I expected them to do first day sellouts for the rest of the year, and then the following week they straight out didn't.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't expecting them to announce Pittsburgh and West Virginia this early. As of this writing, ticket sales have been on sale for over 4 hours, with seats still available in both venues and no celebratory announcement of a sellout, something that was beginning to develop into a mini tradition for AEW's Twitter feed. Even if tickets do eventually sell out, this would mark the slowest sellout of any TV tapings for AEW. After selling out its first 3 TV tapings, in addition to instant sellouts for 3 major pay-per-view events, ticket sales were bound to slow down eventually for the upstart promotion, although it is currently unknown just how many tickets have been sold. AEW's continued momentum managed to somehow adopt an even more competitive context with the news of NXT moving to USA Network on September 18th. The 2-week jump is universally viewed as a counter-programming move by WWE, which intends to do everything in its power to stop AEW dead in its tracks, regardless of what any executive wrestler is programmed to say. Both venues for AEW's upcoming shows in Pittsburgh's Peterson Event Center or West Virginia's Charleston Coliseum are almost double the capacity of the promotion's prior sellout in Boston, which was set up for approximately 4,500. AEW's TV taping in Philadelphia sold over 7,000 tickets. Pittsburgh and West Virginia tapings will be set up for 9,000 and 10,000 respectively. Per Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, tickets for AEW's debut show in Washington, D.C. have been subject to unusually high scalper demand, a caveat that has led to flooding of the market, as tickets can be purchased for as low as $8 on the secondary market. Tickets for the Boston and Philadelphia shows remain on the secondary market at an unusually high clip. Ticket sales for AEW's October 30th taping in West Virginia are undoubtedly the promotion's stiffest test yet. Not only has the building set up to hold the most fans today at 10,000, but the Charleston Coliseum has never had a first day sellout dating back to its construction in 1993. For now, that damning streak appears poised to continue. And as we later learned after the publishing of this article, it did. They didn't sell out day one. I think there's probably still tickets available now. The thing I want to talk about here...
There's still tickets available for both of these shows, but yeah, we're going to get into it.
The thing I want to talk about here that this article comes close to highlighting but doesn't talk about because it really kind of consciously chooses not to, is... now, I think it's great that they're going to Charleston, West Virginia. I think that's awesome. People on Twitter were like, I can't believe you guys are coming to Charleston. We're not going to let you down. Like, we're so excited for this. And there are definitely fans there and fans around there who are going to go to those shows. But, I mean, Charleston, West Virginia, not a big city. And the problem... I know that, being from Maine, I know this and I understand this, right? Because our culture is a lot the same as it is in Charleston, West Virginia, where to put on a show in Maine is very difficult because so few shows come here that the culture just isn't interested in it. And so when big shows do come, like Charleston, this venue that they're playing, the Coliseum, has hosted Foo Fighters, right? Has hosted like a bunch of these big acts, but they don't sell out day one because people just... not enough events come that they're thinking about, and this event is coming, so I'm going to go to this event. They just don't go to events like a lot of people that live there.
It's pretty much just like they'll just wait till the day of and go.
If that.
That's just the mentality that they have because it's so rare for them to get something that when it does actually happen, they're like, oh, cool.
Yeah, like you'd think that because nobody ever plays there that it's like an untapped market and that when something is announced, they'll be like, oh, shit, yeah. But there's so little that goes on there that when something gets announced, they're in a completely different, they're living a different life than that. The people who live the type of lifestyle that they can be like, yeah, let's go to the AEW show. Yeah, have a great time. They don't live in Charleston, West Virginia.
No, they don't.
They live somewhere else, you know? And so is it necessarily, you know, we were talking last week or the week before about, this is, them having people who are looking at the numbers and making great decisions for where they want to go for this first tour. Charleston, West Virginia, and Pittsburgh, probably not places I would have chosen for this reason, because if the whole idea is let's have sellouts, let's put up big numbers, then you'd kind of want to stay to the cities in America. But the other side of that token is if you invest in these smaller towns, if you go and play these different places, and that's your plan early on, then you are going to build a fan base over time.
Yeah, you're building yourself a bigger crowd and a bigger fan base. So it's
all about what's important to you.
The other side of this is flat out. These are double the size of the other, or not. Some of them not even double, but they're so much bigger that they didn't sell it out because they probably sold the same amount of tickets.
Sure. And the thing I want to say about tying this to the NXT announcement, the NXT tapings are not in the same area of the country even remotely. So it's not.
It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's not related.
You can't say they're related unless it's both companies doing a show same night, same city, which won't happen.
Yeah, they're related really only by time when it comes to ticket sales. And it's it's not a big relation here.
There really isn't a lot of correlation between these two things. It sucks that tickets sold, the Thursday sellouts are happening. Also, this shit that Meltzer's throwing out here and being clickbaity himself and talking about the secondary market. If this was any other event, no one would say a fucking word.
Well,
because this happens to every show.
That's super funny because it's more of like Meltzer showing how ignorant he is about how anything else but wrestling works. We used to deal with this literally all the fucking time on Podcast Underground because Meltzer would come out and say, Lucha Underground is hemorrhaging money. And they're just spending money left or right and they're not making any of it back. Which would prompt DJ or Roach or Eric Van Wagenen to get on Twitter and be like, we're not hemorrhaging money. We have a production budget. We spend that much money and that's it. Like, a fucking TV show. But Meltzer only understands things in the context of wrestling, only examines things in the context of wrestling.
Not even that, is that he only understands wrestling.
Yeah.
That's it.
So when he looks at this and he's like, there's a flood of scalper tickets. Yes, it's an in-demand event. That happens at literally every in-demand event I've ever been to. The only reason why it doesn't happen with WWE is because typically they punch above their weights in terms of how many seats they can actually fill in a venue. It's they don't sell out a lot, and they definitely don't like high demand sell out a lot.
No.
And there isn't a buzz around their tickets like there is around the first episode of TV for AEW.
Yeah,
right?
It doesn't matter what you are going to see. If it's a live event, you're going to be dealing with scalpers. Especially in a high demand situation. You and I have dealt with it not directly, but we have essentially dealt with it every December.
Yep.
Because
every December when we try to go to the Boston shows in Boston, you have to be vigilant about getting tickets.
Yeah.
Because they sell out and then the scalpers get fucking nasty with it. I had to deal with it this year because I woke up an hour late to buy Billy Joel tickets for my mom for her birthday at Fenway Park, and I ended up having to pay, Jesus, I got a good deal, and it was 3 times what they were worth.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what live event it is. That's the downfall of Ticketmaster, because they won't institute any ways to prevent it, and they easily could. They don't care because they're making their money. They don't give a fuck.
If I wanted to wait until the very last minute, not have the tickets for my mom's birthday, sit in shitty seats, I probably could have waited until closer to the event. I probably could have gotten these, quote, $8 tickets or whatever that they're talking about, right? But I didn't.
The best example is like when I went to Survivor Series in 2015 when it was in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I was on there pre-sale, got tickets. I watched it on StubHub the entire time because there was always tickets available. Yeah. And not just a handful, but like a lot of like damn good seats available. Mm-hmm. Prices were dropping as you got closer to it. The day of the event, literally 2 hours before my dad and I left, I got on StubHub and I got us 6th row seats on the hard cam for under retail price because scalpers had bought the tickets, couldn't sell them, were dropping the prices so that they made some money back. So
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter what event it is. You're going to have scalpers. I mean, I had tickets to go see the Arctic Monkeys on one of their first shows back in the U.S. after a very long hiatus. Mm-hmm. I ended up selling the tickets and not going because they were selling for triple what I paid for them. So yeah, it would have been a cool show. Made $600.
Speaking of Pittsburgh, at the very least, the AEW TV taping in Pittsburgh has 2 attractions announced for the show already. First, current AEW World Championship #1 contender Chris Jericho will be featured in action. Whether or not this will be a title match, who knows? Second, this episode will feature the finals of the very first AEW Tag Team Tournament, which is interesting that it'll be over that quickly.
That tells me it's an 8-team tournament.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
One last thing on the TV stuff, for people that want to go to see any of these shows, it's now more it's accessible and beneficial for the fans now.
Yeah, if you want to go, fuck the scalpers. If you want to go to DC now, you can do it for $8 apparently. So get on it. Best $8 you'll ever spend, really.
Yeah.
Go to BTE's YouTube channel, by the way, and watch Wrestlers on the Road ordering room service.
That was funny, dude.
With Hangman Page. It was funny. Just out of kayfabe, of course, a parody of comedians in cars getting coffee is the idea here, right? But
Except
it's like
better.
a wrestling version. I thought it started off as a parody, so I thought it was going to be, 35 seconds or whatever, a joke, right? And then it ends up being like 15 minutes long, and it's actually pretty good. Pretty good interview about his life before wrestling, about sort of his early days in wrestling. I thought it was really enjoyable.
It's a great way to highlight some of their talent that hasn't really been super focused, to in a way humanize them and bring them back down to earth, which is something you need with athletes.
Yeah, I don't know how often they're going to do this, but I actually thought it was really good and something I'd want to see more episodes of.
If they do it like once a month, that would be the perfect amount. It doesn't need to be
Yes.
weekly. That would be too much.
Let's move on to a big signing. Tony Schiavone reportedly locked into a deal with All Elite Wrestling. This comes to us from Ryan Satin at ProWrestlingSheet.com. Former WCW announcer Tony Schiavone is reportedly locked into a deal with All Elite Wrestling. PW Insider reports Schiavone will be heading to AEW after agreeing to the terms of a contract last week. WWE was reportedly pursuing Tony as well, but the 61-year-old podcast host ultimately ended up with the upstart promotion All Elite Wrestling instead. Tony recently appeared on an episode of Road 2 in AEW's, quote, Control Center. For those unaware, Schiavone also returned to MLW this month following an absence from the promotion. We're told he will once again be a full-time presence on the show going forward. It's unclear at this time if Tony will be replacing someone on AEW's current commentary team.
So this is I found this so funny and ironic that after Court Bauer and MLW lost their shit of Schiavone being on the Road to, and then AEW is like, okay, fuck you then.
Well, the bigger thing here is that, like, there was a bidding war over him. Basically, WWE had reportedly been pursuing him as well, and you can't convince me WWE had any interest in using him whatsoever. They were going to buy him to sit him on the bench, basically.
Yeah, basically. They wanted him to sign a Legends deal. But, I mean,
Right.
to me, it was so funny because it's a fuck you to WWE. It's really a big fuck you to MLW after they got really shitty about stupid stuff.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about WWE on the show. It's an AEW show, but if there's one business practice, besides the covering for murdering people and the working with Saudi Arabia and all that shit, that bothers me, the one business practice that I think has been the fucking shittiest that they've done since day one in the early goings of this Wednesday night war that we're on the cusp of, right, is this fucking buy him and bench him thing. I think it's fucking stupid that they have so much money that they're literally like, let's buy this person so that they can't have him.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely ridiculous and fucking disgusting, quite frankly, as a business practice.
It really is. There is no other way to say it. It's despicable.
Like, literally just buying pieces to take them off the board.
Yeah.
You can't have them, and we're going to sit them at home and fucking pay them because we can, because we have the money to. I think that's ridiculous. And there's no way they were buying Tony Schiavone for any other reason than, like, oh, they might use Tony Schiavone, we should just buy him and take him off the board.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just fucking petty too.
Yeah, it's so shitty.
Like that's all it is. Like, it's just petty. Like, oh, you can't have him. He's ours. Mm-hmm. And
we're not going to use him, but
he's ours.
He's ours.
Right. And they do it with the talent that they have now that are not happy. Mm-hmm. And then they use these bullshit clauses and these borderline illegal contracts to keep people signed and stuck at home because, oh, you were injured. You're still under contract. Yeah. Like, come on, man. Just if somebody's unhappy, let them leave.
Mm-hmm. Goldenboy has also seemingly signed a deal, posting a Simpsons gif of a contract with the words, "It's official." This was retweeted by Alex Marvez.
Which
with
was
the
hilarious, dude.
With the addendum, "Welcome to the team." Pretty much saying, hey, come over here and cut my head off.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you just took my job. Oh.
One can only hope that's the use for him. There have been some rumors that they want to use him as a backstage correspondent. That's a mistake. Put him on the commentary table. Put Marvez in the fucking back if anybody. But maybe
if
that's
they
want
to use Marvez as he's the rookie, and in the future he's slated to be the main guy, then and this is something you should take from WWE, put him in the backstage reporter role to get him ungreen.
Sure, and that's, with NXT going up against AEW, that's the thing that worries me the most about their product is, like, at the point where you're on TV, this sort of benefit of the doubt that you're given because you're learning or whatever it's gone.
Yeah, we don't
you're on TV and you need to be good, which doesn't mean fire Marvez. What it means is find something he's good at and show him doing that.
Well, we haven't found that yet, but yeah.
Right. Don't have him stretch to do something he's not fucking good at on television in front of 1 million people. Don't do that. Just have somebody who's good do that and have Marvez find something else that he's good at. And if it's nothing, then yeah, fucking fire him. But don't put him out there at something he's not ready for, because that's not good for your product and it's not fucking good for him either.
No, you're setting him up for failure, and that's not it's not fair. It's not a good thing to do, because it makes you look bad because you're putting an inexperienced guy on commentary. Mm-hmm. You're having bad commentary because you have an unexperienced guy, and now it's clear to everyone involved that you set this guy up for failure.
Yes.
So it's just there's no positive here. It's all negatives if you choose to do that.
I think Goldenboy's great because he's a part of the culture that they want to get to. He's young enough, and he's not a pro wrestling guy, but he's good enough at commentary because he's been doing fighting game commentary, which isn't really different than pro wrestling commentary for so long. I think he would be a really smart person to have on the team with Excalibur. Excalibur bringing the knowledge, JR off in some fucking other world somewhere else, right? And
I mean,
Goldenboy.
You and I have talked about it a few times. I really don't think JR's doing TV.
I think that he is. I think that they will. But I don't think it's a good idea, but I think that they will. And I think it'll be Excalibur, and I hope that Goldenboy will be there instead of Marvez, but I don't know. I think Goldenboy's the right choice because he's younger, he's plugged into the culture in a way that nobody else on the commentary team is. I think that's a really smart buy. Though I don't know, because he has like a really big career in the esports area.
Yeah.
You know?
But a fat stack of money.
Right, on a weekly television show on TNT. And he does love pro wrestling. He's always posting pictures from pro wrestling events. So we'll have to see. Let's move on. First, just a small note. This was announced via Twitter. Sadie Gibbs and Big Swole announced for the Casino Battle Royale at All Out.
Because they signed Sadie Gibbs right after Double or Nothing. And
yeah, they signed Sadie Gibbs a long time ago, and we've been waiting for her to do a match. So that's exciting. Big Swole.
No explanation of why she wasn't booked for anything
before.
Else.
Yeah, I do not know why the answer for that is, but we haven't seen it yet. So good that they're finally using her in some way. Big Swole, not terribly familiar with Big Swole, but
people seemed happy.
Yeah, another mystery announcement for not mystery announcement, but another announcement for the Casino Battle Royale, which is nice. We're getting there, but I think there will still be plenty of sort of surprises there. AEW on TNT will not be the end of being the elite. This comes from Chris E. Hayner at GameSpot. The first time we've done a GameSpot article on this show.
Yeah, I mean, I read a lot of them, but I wasn't expecting them to be here.
Yeah, when the Being the Elite YouTube series first launched in May 2016, it was mostly a travelogue for professional wrestlers, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. However, as the show evolved, storylines and new characters were introduced, including the likes of Cody Rhodes, Hangman Adam Page, and several other faces familiar to the fans of All Elite Wrestling. In fact, as far as AEW is concerned, a big part of how the promotion is coming together is due to the popularity of Being the Elite and the notoriety it's brought the Elite, the group of wrestlers that regularly featured on the show. With AEW debuting its show on TNT in the fall, though, many fans have wondered if that will mean the end of Being the Elite. Thankfully, as the Bucks and Omega have confirmed, this is not the case. Quote, I think BTE is important, and I was talking to someone about this the other day. On this show on TNT, we can only do and say certain things, Matt Jackson, one half of the Young Bucks, said during an interview at the TCA press tour. Quote, on YouTube, we can do whatever the hell we want. Maybe you want to see Frankie Kazarian go on an F-bomb tirade like he always does. You're not going to be able to see that on TNT, end quote. What's more, Jackson realizes how important BTE has been to the success he and his friends have achieved. Quote, the whole Elite brand is cultivated through the show, right? We created this cult following because the show, and I don't think a lot of the stuff we've done, our own successes with our brand, like, we probably would have never gotten the Hot Topic deals, probably would have never gotten the Funko Pops. All that stuff happened, I think, because these silly guys were in Japan bored, and we took our cell phones and we started videoing bits of ourselves, and it exploded, and our popularity just went nuts, end quote. Even with BTE sticking around, though, continuing to help grow the popularity of the Elite brand, and by extension, All Elite Wrestling, there might be some serious upgrades in store for the YouTube series. Quote, one cool thing is that we actually have access to now, we could never do before when we were in Japan, is we can actually use the backstage area, Omega teased.
That's very true. Japan is, it's because of their culture, they're very, very guarded about anything backstage ever being publicly shown.
The quote continues, we can use, POV camera shots at ringside. These are things that we can do at our leisure, which is now kind of nice. So you might even see it as a sort of new layer of creativity with episodes once AEW TV goes live. Still, Jackson noted that even if filming opportunities may be upgraded, the show's actual content will still be on brand for the Elite. Quote, you can see the other sides of these crazy characters and how they act, he said. Maybe a little more sense of humor on BTE while watching our more sports-centric show on cable television. Take a character like Jon Moxley, for instance. On the TNT show, you'll see a Jon Moxley type of character that is going to be a little darker, right? But what if you want to see him have a little bit of a sense of humor? Then you can go to the YouTube show and still watch that, Jacqueline explained. It can feed everything. That's one of the ways that AEW is trying to be a pro wrestling alternative fans can look to if they want to sample something different, whether it'll work out in the end. But with AEW on TNT premiering on October 2nd, it shouldn't take too long to find out. This is really interesting because it sort of highlights the people in charge and their sort of understanding of the world today, and this sort of multimedia approach that they're taking that I think is really smart. And more than that, really understanding that a multimedia approach offers them the opportunity to create products with different tones and sort of different hooks. And this idea that BTE is, a more humorous show, a show about kind of hanging out and doing these kind of funny skits or whatever. Whereas the TNT show is more serious sports-centric wrestling product.
It's the product,
right?
Basically.
So, and I think that people have the ability to watch those two products and enjoy them both at the same time, in the way that we kind of have the ability to watch like a movie and then watch like a behind-the-scenes documentary on how a movie is made, right?
I think it will absolutely happen, and I think it's a good way to do things. It works out. Then, you can do some of the backstage stuff that, gets baked into other shows completely separate. You can keep your product, for no better word to say, sports-centric, showing wrestling, not getting bogged down with silly things.
Well, Tony has talked often about how his vision for the show is to basically never leave ringside. Mm-hmm. Basically do everything in the ring, and that's where the show takes place, and not do these weird segments backstage like other companies do or whatever. No, we're here to see what's happening in the ring. So if that's the case, and then you have BTE, which is sort of in the backstage area and out and about and things like that, then it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do with it. And I think it's smart to keep it because it's a brand that's working. As long as they have the time to do it, then continue to work with it, especially in this day and age where it's all about keeping people engaged all the time. You know what I mean?
And I mean, you and I, we talked about it a little bit last week where, them going into how TV is going to be, where they're doing a set schedule, could mean the end of this show, but at the same time, it makes it easier for them to do this show.
Yeah.
And, being the Elite is definitely going to be refactored. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to end up being refactored for the best because everybody that they want to be involved will be co-located, so you're not going to have weird camera issues as much anymore.
Yeah.
And you can just do things like, hey, we're all kind of stuck here for 4 hours, if not longer.
Right.
We need 15 minutes. Come over to this room, blah, blah, blah.
Right. You have one match tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
Come over when your segment's over, and we'll talk about doing something. The road to All Out number 7. The show opens directly into the AEW Control Center with the this week's host, Lexi Nair, who is an actress, model, and makeup artist with ties to DDP's yoga business. Lexi gives us a brief recap of the Young Bucks Lucha Bros rivalry before shooting us to a beautiful segment of gorgeous slow motion footage set to Matt and Nick talking about the match. Matt counts the Lucha Bros among the Young Bucks' greatest rivalries ever. Quote, no question, end quote. Matt laments that usually him and Nick have an advantage over any opponent, the connection that comes from being literal brothers by blood. Against the Lucha Bros, that's a shared advantage, however. Matt says that Pentagon is the most charismatic man he's ever been in the ring with, and Nick says that Phoenix is the craziest man he's ever been in the ring with.
Fair enough.
Nick says that he truly believes that Cerro Miedo isn't just a gimmick for Pentagon and Phoenix. It's a way of life that they truly have. Matt says that there's literally no way to train for this match, but he really questions the wisdom of challenging the Young Bucks to a ladder match, as the match benefits the Bucks as much as it does the Lucha Bros. Young Bucks seem very aware that this match has to be fucking crazy, right? And that's sort of, again, the biggest pull from this is like, they're hyping this match up that it's gonna be wild, it's gonna be insane, and I think they're doing that because they understand that, like, it really has to be. Mm-hmm, it really has to be to pull it off. These guys could go out and have a great match, and if it's not amazing, then it's gonna be shit for a lot of people online, which, is not who you're catering to. You're catering to your fans, not your detractors, but it's nice when you get them both. Match announced for the buy-in, Private Party versus Angelico and Jack Evans, which is going to be a barn burner. I'm excited for that. And I think a great match to throw on the buy-in, which, again, we're sticking with that name probably indefinitely at this point.
It looks to be, yeah, but, whatever.
But it's great. It's going to be a great athletic match, tag team match, especially on the buy-in, which, again, just focusing on tag team wrestling in this company, and on the buy-in, which everyone can watch for free. Basically your commercial for your last minute commercial for your pay-per-view. I think it's a great move. The rest of the show is a beautifully lit sit-down interview with the Hangman Adam Page and Jim Ross. Hangman starts by acknowledging that Jericho is the favorite here for a lot of reasons, most notably that he's the kind of proven, established name that seems like an attractive option to hold the title heading into television. However, Hangman starts to make the case that AEW wasn't built by recognizable faces or corporate sponsorships. It was built by people doing some cowboy shit. This sounds really nice, but is kind of a glaringly blatant untruth. He says that AEW is built by thousands of fans who wanted something different, and he thinks that he can provide that. Basically, he's the new taste for a new generation. And the point I want to make by saying it's a blatant untruth, like it was started by recognizable faces, and it was started with corporate money. So to say that it's not bolstered by those things is.
It's one of those
it's
things.
Nice.
He's right, but he's also wrong. Kind of a thing.
Sure. He's right because they have tried to push themselves as this underground punk rock movement thing, but they're not. We have to be cognizant of the fact that the reason why AEW is a threat is because they have the resources to be a threat, not because they're a good idea. Lots of promotions have been a good idea. Lots of promotions have never been anything but a good idea.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Is like that was a great idea, but you didn't execute.
Well, it's not even you didn't execute. You never had a chance to execute because you didn't have the fucking money that you need to spend to fight $1 billion corporation.
Sure, yeah,
you just don't have the resources to do it. I mean, at a certain point, you can have a good idea, and good ideas are great, but in a society like ours, in capitalism, there comes a point where you're not going to sink a battleship with a rowboat. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Right. You just don't have enough. Knife to a gunfight, that sort of thing. It's just not going to happen. But it is an interesting point because it makes one question how AEW is gauging the optics of the result on Saturday. And it seems like either way they go, there's going to be an ending of a series of op-eds about how they just made the biggest creative business mistake in history, right? Like whether they go with Jericho and then it's they say that they're an alternative to WWE, and then what do? They put it on a fat old WWE guy, right? And then
you can't really say fat anymore. He ain't fat. But yeah, I agree.
He's got kind of a beer belly, but
yeah.
Okay. Then the other side of it is they put it on a Hangman Page, and who the fuck is Hangman Page, right? So it's tough. It's not an
really
easy
is.
match to decide who's the winner.
You either put it on the proven commodity, or you put it on the complete unknown. It's a catch-22. It's almost a no-win situation. But no matter, as long as it works out well, it will be fine. But you're still always going to have the trolls out here like, oh, you did it wrong.
Yeah, either way, there's going to be I think a backlash for it, which is fine because honestly, either way this match goes, I'm happy with it. I think heel Jericho having the title and coming out on TV, I think is awesome.
Yeah, like we've talked about it before. Both sides, there's built-in feuds.
Yeah, I think babyface Hangman coming out and having the title is awesome. Like either way, doesn't matter to me. But
we'll know the thing if we walk in and the Steer Center and we see horse shit.
Ross, a man who says he's likely called more Jericho matches than anyone alive, says that he doesn't believe that Hangman has ever faced someone as dangerous as Jericho is at this point in his career. Ross has been looking for a weakness in Jericho's offense, and he has not found one yet. Hangman says that he has watched Chris Jericho wrestle probably every single week since he was a teenager, from TV up until they ended up in the same locker rooms. And JR is right. He doesn't have many weaknesses. Hangman continues that the only weakness he's found in Jericho is his desperation. Whether this side note, whether this is a weakness or an advantage or both remains to be seen.
Could also say his singing.
Sure. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, shots fired. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, wow, man. And Hangman's ability to recognize this desperation in himself is kind of strange because the rest of this promo is kind of so strikingly similar to what Jericho said in Jacksonville that it's kind of shocking. Hangman then misquotes Jericho. He says, I listened to him in Jacksonville. I listened to what he said. He said he wanted to beat the Hangman. He wanted to be the first All Elite Wrestling World Champion. I don't want this. I need it. In reality, Jericho's words were almost exactly the same. He didn't say he wanted it. He said, I have to beat the Hangman many times.
The promos that they've come out with, they've been worded very, very interestingly done.
Yeah.
To be ambiguous enough that you're like, man, I don't know.
Sure. And this did, it sounds like I'm harping on Hangman, but it's really only because he kind of like, he had this idea of, oh, he says he wants it, but I need it, right? And he kind of like broke legs to get there. And I understand it. Sometimes you need to break legs to make things fit. But Jericho straight up says, I said I have to beat the Hangman in Jacksonville. He didn't say I want to at any point during that promo. So it's a little schlocky to do it that way. But you know, it did. When I got to the end of this promo, I was legitimately sitting there like, I don't know which way they're going to go, which I guess is the point, right?
It's the point, but it's one of those refreshing things. Like other booking, you can also obviously see, even in AEW, you can see, okay, that's good. He's going to win. He's going to win. He's going to win.
Right.
This one is, I don't know. I thought I knew, and now I don't.
Hangman says that he's said he'd be the first AEW champion since day one. This is true. At the original rally, he said he would be the first champion. He continues to reiterate that he needs to win this match as a result. Ross asks if it bothers Hangman that he is the underdog. Hangman says no, he's been the underdog his whole career, and he kind of likes it that way. Hangman talks about his childhood on his family's tobacco farm. He vividly remembers being told by his father that upon growing up, he was going to have to find something else to do. He likes to think that he's found that in pro wrestling. His parents haven't been on a plane in probably 15 years, but they will be ringside in Chicago to watch their boy in the main event, which is kind of cool. Kind of a cool story,
That's
man.
Bullshit, man. We could have gotten those seats.
I wasn't paying that much for seats.
I'm just saying.
Ross asks Hangman if he has a message for Jericho. Hangman says that he has this one chance, this one night. If he loses the match, what's he going to do? Go back to the tobacco farm? This is all he's got. If Jericho loses, he can make another Fozzy record. He'll be fine. This may be the only opportunity that Hangman gets, and he will do anything to win the champion because he has to. Again, I thought it was a great promo, sort of decent selling of the angle, even if I don't agree with some of the things they did to make it work. It's cool to see that both men truly believe that they have to win this match for sort of different reasons. We have, this sort of young lion who's trying to prove himself, and this old lion trying to stay alive, basically, in the dusk of his career. As he talked about in Jacksonville, where he feels like if he loses this match, then that's probably the last you're going to see of him in a top-level professional capacity. So, moving into this match, I really don't know, which is unfortunate because we're about to do picks.
Hey, man, we've been proven wrong so many times. It's fine.
It's fine. But yeah, I mean, closing thoughts on this promo from the Hangman.
I don't really have any thoughts. He's done a lot of really good promos since Jacksonville. he's come a long way, and I really
anyone
enjoy
who's saying he's not a good promo is not watching the YouTube content.
No, they're not. And I'll give it to you. His promos before when they did the AEW announcement and Double or Nothing, they weren't great. But you can see the growth there, and that's due to the people he's working with and who he has to work with.
Yeah.
And he's doing a lot better. He's at a slower pace, promo wise, than like MJF, who can just naturally run through this shit. But seeing the growth there, and that he's not stagnating or letting his in-ring skills, which are also growing, get him through. I like seeing that. JR has been doing a very good job in these Road to All Out videos of bringing good promos out of people. I wish they were a little longer.
Yeah.
But, such is life.
Okay, so let's do picks.
Okay. I have my book out. I wrote mine down, so I got on Wikipedia and I started at the bottom up and went up.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
So, first match, I picked Private Party. I wanted to pick Angelico and Jack because I really like them, but I feel like Private Party's on kind of a bigger push right now. And as well as that, it's like I want to see them. I'm excited for this match because I want to see them put on a badass match, and Angelico and Jack are, I think, the two guys that can really highlight them in a great aspect.
Yes. Private Party, Angelico, and Jack Evans. I'm gonna say Angelico and Jack Evans.
Okay.
I don't really have any supporting thoughts as to why, except that Private Party we already have Private Party announced for the first match that they're gonna have on TV in the tournament. We don't for Angelico and Jack Evans. It would be kind of good to give them the win this early. Yeah.
This is like looking through this card. I look through it and I'm like, I don't care who wins on most of these matches because it's just like it's going to be good.
Yeah, I agree. The Women's Casino Battle Royale. Winner receives a shot at the inaugural women's title.
Yeah. Again, this one's hard because we know 10 people.
Sure, confirmed entrants so far, 10 of 21, maybe even 22. Britt Baker, Jazz, Sadie Gibbs, Teal Piper, Big Swole, Ariel Monroe, Brandy Rhodes, Nyla Rose, Allie, Yuka Sakazaki, and Ivelisse. Again, yeah, we know very few of the people who are going to be in there. Like, I would guess Britt Baker. Okay. The reason being, I mean, there's a lot of women that I think are as good as Britt Baker here, but a lot of them are like kind of like one-time signings or whatever. So, and Britt Baker with Pittsburgh coming up and whatnot, I think that's the move for them.
It could be.
And they've made a lot out of her story. Talked about her story a lot. They've kind of been grooming her.
I wouldn't look too much into the one-time signing aspect of it.
Sure.
But I see your point. I'm picking Ivelisse on this one.
Okay.
She's,
I think it's small.
The default picks and just of who's been announced, I was like, okay, it's Britt Baker or Brandy. But it's like,
right.
Ivelisse this is her moment. Like this, it sounds bad. This is her moment to fuck up. She has all of the upside, and all it will take is just a fluke injury again, or her running her mouth, and she will lose such an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, I think she's going to break her ankle in the match, but that's on me. Riho versus Hikaru Shida. Now, it is important that Meltzer has said that he thinks this match will be quote-unquote important. which would lead somebody to believe that this will be like they did with the Casino Battle Royale and the match with Jericho and Omega, that this might be the other side of it.
Considering that there is no other women's match announced and they're crowning the champion on the first night of TV, I mean, obviously we could have a match announced this week, a women's match, and no one would sneeze at it.
Right.
But this kind of has to be the other one.
And in that case, I would go with Shida, personally.
Okay, I went Riho.
Okay, good. I'm glad that we're on opposite sides here,
Yep.
but I think Shida's the pull here. Now Riho, they've been using Riho a lot.
Yep. And she's honestly the more popular of the two.
Sure.
And I like that the angle that they built. I wish, and I understand why there hasn't been more building of this angle, because they both speak Japanese.
Right.
It's kind of hard to build angles and promos in subtitles. I get it.
Well, not when everything's pre-taped like it is here, right?
Subtitles and things. It doesn't come across as well.
Just get a man to, like when they do a documentary, right? And the Japanese guy starts talking, and then it gets really quiet, and then you hear a man's voice go, "Well, back in those days."
Oh, so like the all Godzilla movies?
Yeah. Like that. Just no, that'd be terrible.
I would love it, but no, we can't do that.
Joey Janela versus Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin.
I've seen a lot of things. I've been reading about this match, and this has to be Darby. It has to be. Joey and Jimmy Havoc have both had upsides and also had longer careers, so the losses don't really mess with them. Darby is so green and so new to this company as well as wrestling in general that if they bury him here, he's not going to be able to recover.
I don't really throw the word around bury when he's in a triple threat match. You know what I mean?
It has the wrong connotation, but if he takes the L, it's going to be hard for him to recover.
Joey Janela and Jimmy Havoc, different characters than Darby Allin. Darby Allin winning means a little bit more to that character. Joey Janela and Jimmy Havoc, the thing about them is not that they win matches.
It's that they cause damage.
Right. The thing about Joey Janela is that he's a combustible Edison, and you get in the ring with him and like.
I mean, that's true for essentially both of them.
Sure. I mean, Jimmy Havoc. The idea of Jimmy Havoc is that he's a little more malicious and masochistic with it than Joey Janela is typically portrayed as, and that's really just because of his aesthetic.
He's a sadist.
Right. Whereas Joey Janela just seems reckless.
From Jackass.
Right, sure.
You could put Steve-O in Joey Janela's gimmick, and no one would sneeze at all.
Sure. Joey Janela could enter to an Andrew WK song, and it would be
how badass would that be? We were sitting there, and all the lights go out, and then it just pops up, and Andrew WK is on a stage, and just doing his thing, and then out comes Joey. Man, that'd be so awesome. Now I want that to happen.
I would lose my mind.
Yeah, because you're a massive Andrew WK mark.
I think Darby Allin is the buy here. I agree with you. I think both of them can stand to lose. As much as I'd like to see Janela take it, I think Darby Allin.
I would like to see in the future. It's a match that has to happen at a pay-per-view. I want to see Joey versus Jimmy. You can't do that on TV.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
Best Friends versus the Dark Order. Winner gets a bye in the Tag Team Championship tournament.
You know who my pick is.
I'm gonna pick the Dark Order.
Okay.
And it's not just to pick something different than you.
You think they have the better heat right now?
No, I just think giving a heel a buy-in is smarter than giving it to a babyface.
That's fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I think that it's better for I just want the best friends to win.
Dude, the Dark Order fucking need it though so much more.
They do.
The best friends, they can lose this match and it's fine. Their thing is that they're best friends. Again, this is all about like, what's this person's thing? The best friends thing is that they're best friends and they're funny. If they lose a match, then they lost a match. If the Dark Order have come out with their kind of like shitty attire and they're not on the same page gimmick, and again they're masked uni boys as we were talking about last week, right? And they're kind of weird, kind of crappy promos that they've been doing, and they fucking lose matches. It's over.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be, again, this will be like their second match ever or whatever, right? But like, there has to be something to this character, and I don't think anything else is working. So at least have them fucking win matches.
Yeah, something needs to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
So you're best friends?
Yeah, I'm picking best friends because I think that's just going to be the ones working out better, and I
want best friends to win. My heart says pick the best friends because I want them to have that success, but I gotta think it's the Dark Order.
That's fair.
Cody versus Sean Spears. Sean Spears will be accompanied by Tully Blanchard. Side bet here. Who do you think Cody's number 2 will be?
Damn. I'm going off of the rails. I'm going DDP.
Wow. Okay. I guess I can see that. Does DDP have a history with Tully Blanchard?
No, but he has a very big history with Cody.
I think it's going to be MJF. They've laid too many bricks in front of this one for it to not be MJF.
Okay.
AAA Tag Team Championship.
You didn't pick
we didn't pick a winner.
Yeah, you didn't pick a winner.
Sean Spears.
Okay, I picked Cody, but that's, I don't. This is one of those like I don't care. This is
I just want to see it. It's gonna be great. Really, the rest of this card is just like okay. AAA Tag Team Championship, Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks in Escalera de la Muerte, a ladder match. This is the biggest one where I'm like, dude, don't even care. I know you're probably in a different place. I know you're banking on Lucha Bros or walking out. But
hey, man, this might be a solo podcast in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Like I don't really care about the winner of this match as long as it's got to be fucking amazing. I could see it going either way. I would hope that the Lucha Brothers would win it only because I want this to be the blow off, and if the Young Bucks win it, then that means that we continue because they have to get the titles back, right?
Yeah. But that's what what I mean. AAA hasn't fucked us over,
right? By announcing this exact match
for
in 2 weeks.
one of their 2 massive shows,
right? Yeah.
And
although apparently they've like stepped down from the Madison Square Garden thing
because they had to.
Right. They were in Madison Square Garden and now they're in now they're in like a theater that's like technically in the same building or whatever.
Yeah. It's similar to how Daly's place is with the Jaguar Stadium.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pick Lucha Bros, but it's partly because of how this is set up, but also my personal feelings and everything else. But yeah, if AAA had announced I will go on record as saying if AAA does announce this exact match, I will change my pick because it's clear what the outcome will be. As it is right now, I'm picking Lucha Bros, and if whoever involved, I mean, the Bucks kind of put it on Tony that he's the one who's made them be the winners, even though they wanted to lose.
Yes, I believe that is what they've said in the past.
If Tony says no, Bucks need to win, Tony's fucking wrong. I'm not as being a mark or anything like this. Like, this is like business perspective. Tony's wrong.
Yeah, to have them come up short so many times, unless that's the angle that you're trying to push, right? Is that they have they're this amazing tag team, but the Bucks just have their number or whatever. But I think this is, when you do that, you pay it off by you change the rules, and then when the rules change, then you have a different situation, right?
Yeah.
Which is what they're doing here. They've changed the rules, right? So if you then have them lose again, I think it's unfortunate, unless ultimately the idea is like split the tag team and have them both go singles, which I honestly think is better for everybody involved.
That is better, but it's not better when you have a tag team tournament involved and you need the tag teams. Now, them splitting up after the tournament because of a loss, sure, do it. That's a great point. It's kind of cliche, but it's fine.
Right.
If you continue to have the Bucks win to then come up in the finals of the tournament and then lose, that's not compelling. Mm-hmm. And you're also doing bad business by saying, "Oh, it's our promotion. We're gonna book ourselves to win all the time."
Sure. The optics of it are not good, even though I would argue it's not them booking themselves to win because they're not that involved with the booking.
Right, but
Tony does the booking. But
sure,
yes.
But that's not a very widely known thing.
Sure.
We
from
know
the outside
it because we pay a lot of attention to this shit.
Right.
Joe Schmo, I like AEW. Man, they started their own promotion. They're just the champions. Didn't they say they weren't going to do this?
Yeah, it's tough. So I hope for a Lucha Brothers win, if only selfishly because I fucking love the Lucha Brothers, right? But certainly to a greater degree than I love the Young Bucks, just because I've watched the Lucha Brothers grow as a team a lot more than I have the Young Bucks. But I really don't know which way they're going to go with it, and the implications of the tag team tournament being in the future are weighing heavily on this match, I think, and what the intention for that is moving forward into television. And I really don't know. But I would say the Lucha Brothers.
Okay.
Kenny Omega versus Pac
it's
in this.
It's Kenny. There's no two ways about this. It's Kenny.
Yeah.
If it was Moxley, you and I would probably sit here for the next 20 minutes and debate this. But no, it's Kenny. I mean, I'm happy.
But now you're bringing in Pac, and it's his debut,
I'm
right?
Happy
if you want
to be surprised and have the opposite, outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a last minute replacement. Pac's been causing shit already.
Right.
And fuck plans over. No, Kenny's going over.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you with that. Bringing the guy in just to have him lose isn't great, but losing to Kenny Omega isn't a problem. So, because you can come out and literally say, "Yeah, I lost, but I lost to fucking Kenny Omega,"
and as well as, what do I care? I only came in because they needed a favor. Now they owe me.
Right. I accepted a match last minute, right, to fight the best wrestler in the world. And I lost. Fucking shocker, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think Kenny Omega. AEW World Championship match, the very first between Chris Jericho and Adam Hangman Page.
I picked Jericho, but again, I don't care. I'm happy either way. I think this match is going to have some shenanigans. I do think it will end up being a type of some form of no DQ because there has to be a champion. And by shenanigans, I don't mean interference. I mean there's gonna be blood.
Oh, sure, blood.
But
I wouldn't be surprised if there's blood.
I think and when I say shenanigans, I mean that there's gonna be tables, chairs, things like that involved, which would cause a disqualification. And even if there is interference, I think it's going to be an interesting way of interference where it's not going to change the outcome one way or the other.
Sure.
Because there'll be people on both sides kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about, like, it really just depends on what their strategy is, what the optics they want are. You know, when you're launching something new, I don't disagree with the idea that it's important to have something familiar there for people at the being the anchor, you know? And so people, as many people have pointed out, Chris Jericho being kind of an obvious pick here, he is. But at the same time, if you're trying to present yourself as new, as alternative, as different, it's very hard to do that when the guy you've got with the gold is somebody that we're very familiar with, right?
Sure.
So
it is a little bit of a catch-22.
Yeah.
But there's no downside here.
No. And Hangman as a character has a lot that's very familiar about him anyway. You know, he's got black trunks. He's got a southern accent, right? He's very Stone Cold like.
Yeah.
He's Stone Cold with long, beautiful hair, and he's fucking 27 years old, right?
That's really kind of the big thing is, you know, by the time Stone Cold got popular, you know, he had to shave his head because he was getting some major bald spots.
Sure. So either way, you can kind of push that there's familiarity there. I'm gonna go Hangman Page.
Okay.
And because I think it makes a statement to say, like, no, we're gonna, as you know, as much as I'd like to see heel Chris Jericho coming out with the title, you know, taking the title on the fucking Fozzy tour with him and shit like that, and like,
because you fucking know he would go out every goddamn night.
Oh my god,
the
yes.
Scarf, the glasses, and the fucking belt on. And then I'm going to want to go, like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to go see Fozzy because I'm going to laugh.
As much as I would love to see it. I'm going to stand on the rail
wearing a fucking Hangman shirt.
I think they're just going to, I think this is the time to say, no, we're putting the chips on our guys. What you do with Chris Jericho after that, I have no fucking idea. But hey, I would think Hangman Page. Anthony's probably going to beat me, though.
I don't care if Anthony beats you as long as I beat you.
Is he showing up, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think he is.
You think Punk's showing up?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
okay.
do.
Okay.
I don't, and that's the wonderful thing of how we put this in as a category.
Yeah.
He could be sitting ringside. He could stick his head out of the curtain.
Right.
He could throw a promo and walk in and whip someone's ass. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, there's what you do. There's what you do with Jericho if he loses, right?
Yeah. Punk comes out and just, boom. You're washed up. I'm the best in the world.
Maybe.
Even if he doesn't, man, there's so much, you know, there to just.
I'm not saying I wouldn't fucking love to see it.
Well,
okay.
What I mean
I'm not
is
saying it wouldn't be great.
There's so many hints and signs, and yeah, it's probably all fucking misdirection.
Sure.
Why not just say, yeah, fuck it, Punk's gonna show up. We also know, like, when we look at scorecards in the bottom category is like, pick the 5 people you think will be mystery appearances. Everyone, or 95% of the people in Discord will put Punk.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't
Yeah.
you? I mean, I always have
money.
I always have trouble finding 5 people anyway that I think are going to show up.
Yeah, right?
But man, God, it really would be a moment. But who knows? So, are we putting a side bet on this, Punk showing up or not showing up?
I mean, we can. I already owe you a shirt.
You do. You do.
The thing of it is, though, is like if we put a side bet on this, it has to be something that we can buy on Sunday.
Yeah. Which is tough.
Right. So, side bet. Loser buys breakfast. Between you and I, not the other two fuckers. Between you and I, loser buys breakfast.
Then I gotta go to breakfast.
Okay, lunch, meal, whatever the fuck. God damn it, you are a difficult...
When are you flying out? Aren't you flying out early?
Hold on.
11.
No, hold on. No, my flight's at 3:45.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, that's fine then.
Yeah. So
That's fine. Loser buys breakfast sounds kind of like a sex thing, but
whatever. It's not my fault I wake up at normal times.
Yeah, I work nights. I don't think Punk's showing up. And that's my final answer.
All right.
That's why. But boy, would I love it if he did. I don't even care. I'd buy you 2 fucking breakfasts.
You say that like it's
and
some
then
kind
leave
of
and
bad thing.
Then leave and go back to bed because it's too early. Too early to be on. All right, man. YouTube, Apple Podcasts app, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy. Too sweet.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite, Twitter @Seeing the Elite, and of course, tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. Get invited to our Discord, be a part of the league, win the championship, get that t-shirt from Shane O'Mac. That's if you can beat Jonathan and I, which you will, because we're not good at
Hey,
this.
fuck you, man. This is our time. We did better. We've consistently done better. At least you and I have.
But this is it, man.
It's gone up. It's gone up. We've got more points.
All out, man. The story, 1 year in the making, just over 1 year in the making. And it's going to be really wild. Of course, next week, going to be a break from our traditional format. We're going to be recording on location in Chicago. We're going to be doing it travelogue style, talking about Thursday, talking about Friday, talking about Saturday. With guests. It's going to be a blast, man, and we're looking forward to it. The show might go up a tad later than usual, depending on traveling. I have to get home, and then I have to edit the show, which is probably going to be longer than most shows, and then I have to put it up. But Monday, it'll be out. And
I mean, it's fine. Monday's a holiday. It's okay.
Sure. So that's where it's going to be. So excited to present it. So excited to be in Chicago, and so excited for this journey that we've had so far with AEW. That's only going to get wilder, only going to get better. Big changes to come. We're going to talk about them after All Out as we move into this new era on TNT in the fall. But until then, everyone get excited because Saturday's going to be fucking wild. And we're going to have just the greatest time in Chicago, Illinois, and all over the world. Jonathan, do you have anything else for these people before we go?
I do. So music lovers of strange music, not my kind of thing, but go check out one of my buddies on Spotify. His artist name is Vape Error. Go check him out. He makes some weird shit with computers, and actually he writes a lot of his music with computer programs. It's some cool shit. Go check it out.
That sounds dope, man.
We
Vape Error.
had a presentation
what a funny name
at work, and the title of the presentation was making the beat boops with programs.
Oh, that's great. Well, until then, we will see you all on the other side of Chicago. Or if you find us in Chicago, let us know. Get at us through Discord, and we'll talk. And we'll have stickers if you see us in Chicago. It's going to be great. So until then, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, go out and change the world.
I don't want